Hi, I'm Jeep Worthen with Autometer Products. I've got a good friend of mine who for years has wanted to put a new set of gauges in his bass boat. In fact, I fish with him. And we're going to take today and put gauges in his boat. But what we've had the most interest in is the new GPS speedometer. So we're going to concentrate today on putting a new GPS in the boat. We'll show you an install, how it works, and hopefully afterward to go for a little ride and maybe see it actually functioning itself. So stick with us and we'll put the Speedo in the boat.
So here's what we'll be starting with. The original pitot tube speedometer in this boat's never really worked right. So we take the original gauge panel out, just a couple Phillips head screws here, actually quite easy. With those out, we are able to pull that free. You can kind of see what everything looks like behind the dash panel there. So we remove the power and the ground for the original lighting circuit. Take a side cutter and snip the zip tie that secures the pitot tube. And then we will unthread the mounting nuts that secure the gauge into the panel. And with those free, we're able to pop the unit out and then remove the pitot tube. Now, using a multimeter, we verify that we've got good power and good ground for this new Speedo. In this case, we're using the OEM tach circuit. So we prepare our harness, just 2 wires, power and ground. Heat shrink tubing is going to be very important. Obviously, we want our wiring to last a good long time. So we're using ring terminal to go along with the OEM tach setup. Crimp those into place. And then we've got a standard 1/4-inch spade terminal that will be used with the new Autometer speedometer. And we heat the tubing to get it to seal. It's worth mentioning, a heat gun is the proper method here, but a lighter will do in a pinch if you're careful. So now onto the spade connectors, we drop a second, slightly larger piece of tubing here just to make sure we've got real nice insulation for those connections. So with that done, we pop our power wire onto the speedometer, pop our ground wire onto the Speedo, and we can use the original lighting power wire, and that's what those look like all hooked up. So we've decided we're going to mount the antenna on the lower panel here because the new Autometer GPS antennas are so small, we can actually place it right next to the fuel gauge. So with that pulled away, we're able to thread that through. It's worth mentioning, for optimum function, we do of course want the GPS antenna to have a fairly clear view of the sky. In our case, we're securing this with a little double-sided tape. Now we thread the coaxial connection onto the back of the Autometer speedometer. And that is completely wired. So with the battery disconnected, we're going to go ahead and unthread our power and ground connections on the OEM tach so we can daisy chain our power. So there's our ground wire. We want to make sure we're using a star washer here to ensure that we've got a good bite and a good connection. Get those threaded on. And onto the power side. And get these just about finger tight. You don't need to crank down on them too terribly hard. And there's our connection. So now we slide the bracket over the odometer speedometer. This one's much easier. We put a lock washer in place, and then we've got 2 small thumb screws that will secure that into place. Again, just finger tight there. Now for cheap insurance, we took the original pitot tube, blocked that off with a bolt, and zip tied that into place. Even though it's never worked, we don't want to run into any chances where we could potentially get water behind the dash. So with that set up, we'll put the whole thing back together, and we are ready to try out our new speedometer. So the odometer GPS speedometer, we're going to start this in real time here. Now you see that little pointer wiggle. That's the stepper motor in there finding its 0 point, and it shows the software version. And in real time here, we're acquiring our signal. So this can take anywhere from 10 to 30 seconds if you've got a good clear view of the sky. Obviously a little bit more if it's not open. We see it says locked. That means we're got it. So our functions, we've got peak speed, which we can then reset with that button. We have a trip odometer, which we'd reset with that if we had any miles. We have our trip time, and again, that can be reset with that button. Have our cumulative odometer. Have our location coordinates. That's going to give us our latitude and longitude. Have hours that it's run. And our display here, we can adjust the lighting on this. So whether you're in bright sunlight or if it's very dark, we can custom tailor that. Have obviously our time, which is pulled off of the satellites. And then back to our heading, which shows how we're moving. So not a lot of water near Sycamore, Illinois, so we decided to improvise a little bit here. You can see we've got a nice smooth pointer movement. This GPS receiver updates 10 times every second. So 10 hertz signal, lightning fast, very, very accurate readings. And that is the new Odometer Marine GPS speedometer. Thank you so much for watching.